From the Bent Pixel Studios in Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Phone Booth Fighting, a free weekly podcast covering the world of mixed martial arts and so far beyond, with a couple of people that Frank Mir is going to introduce you to. That would be you and me, and then you can explain who our guests are.
Well, I mean, I don't have to explain to too many people who Jose Canseco is.
Nope.
There was 86 Rookie of the Year, the 88 Player of the Year?
Yeah, 86 Rookie of the Year, 88 MVP, 40-40, and
first guy
a million years ago.
That's the thing that I know you're not the most avid sports fan that's non-combative.
Right.
But he was the first guy to hit 40 home runs and steal 40 bases.
I am aware of that. I have very particularly segmented baseball knowledge. That's a weird area of my sports knowledge.
I didn't know this about you. I'm learning something new.
Yeah, and we also need to introduce his podcast co-host, Jarett Orr. Now, the podcast is called The Truth Hurts.
Yes.
Jose's got a new podcast with Jarett. You guys are 8 episodes in, something like that, right?
7 episodes in right now.
7 episodes in. All right, I subscribe, I listen.
Thank you.
And we're going to be talking about all of that. But I do have my general position is I only like combat sports because I need the constant threat of total incapacitation.
I fought before. I have some MMA experience.
I am aware of that, yes. But I do
and it hurt, let me tell you.
I do love the history of baseball, so I do have some baseball trivia rattling around up there. But first, and this is so particularly interesting to me, Frank, because when you told me out of the blue one day that you had befriended Jose Canseco, my worlds collided. Because you ever have that where normally it's a scary thing where like some ex-girlfriend you find out is friends with your new girlfriend or something like that. This wasn't like that, but still weird in a way because Jose and I have a history. Now,
I was going to give an example, but I realized I would out myself.
Yeah, don't do that because then
right.
It causes me extra editing.
Yeah.
Now, Jose and I have a history. I'm not sure how much of it Jose remembers, so I'm going to put him on the spot and ask him, what do you remember?
I remember doing a show with you, I don't know how many years ago it was, and I think it was pertaining to, was it the book Juice, Baseball in General?
Yep.
So, yeah, I do remember. I'm trying to forget, but I still kind of remember.
Even before the book came out. Now, I'm gonna tell you how cool Jose is because before the book came out, there was talk you were going to write a book, but it had not been published yet or anything. We get Jose on the phone on my sports radio show in Dallas, and it's 10 years ago, probably, right about. So maybe longer at this point. So we get him on the air, we do a interview, and he invites us out to his house. Now, you were living in Florida at the time. I'm doing nighttime radio in Dallas, which is a big market, but, the nighttime show to the station doesn't put a lot of money behind it. So we're like, awesome, let's go out and do a live broadcast at Jose's house, but we have to have the money to get there. So I go into the program director's office, and I said, you're not going to believe this. Jose Canseco just invited us to go do a live show at his house, thinking he would be super excited. And like any program director does, they start bitching and moaning about the budget, and oh my gosh, we don't have the money. And so sarcastically, I said, well, maybe we should do a pledge drive like they do on public radio, And the program director of this for-profit radio station goes, hey, that's a good idea. Let's do that. Next thing I know, I'm doing a pledge drive for a privately owned for-profit radio station. We raise the money to go to Jose's house. We get in a camper, and we drive from Dallas to Miami straight because we didn't have room for a hotel. And we pull up a big RV in front of his house, and we did a live show there. Now, here's the thing. This is tell you something about Jose. The book comes. We're sitting in his living room, and he says on the air, I'm going to write a book that is going to blow the lid off of Major League Baseball, and it's going to end with congressional hearings. Now, I remember going back home, talking to our producer and going, I'm sure it's going to be a book, but I don't know, the congressional hearings, that seems a little far-fetched, right? Okay, well, talking about predicting the future. So now the book comes out, biggest thing going, and our morning show wants to get Jose on the air. Of course, now everybody's interested because the book's so hot. Jose tells the morning show on our radio station no, and he flies on his own dime to come into Dallas to be in studio with us on the nighttime show to talk about it, and those morning show guys never forgave me for that, Jose. They were so pissed. And I was like, well, what you do is you put in the legwork, you build the relationship, and then it pays off in the end. Where were you guys when, before the book came out, right? But it did end in congressional hearings. So
I
you were
forgot
right.
that correlated, that book coming out, that is what led to, or started the ball rolling. I remember thinking, I'm like, why am I watching Roger Clemens fucking...
Yeah.
Why were they watching Roger Clemens' house?
Well, I guess they suspected him of using some type of PEDs. But I tell you, I was very good friends with Roger Clemens. I knew his family, his kids, his wife. We played golf together. He came to parties at my house. And the ironic part about it was he never talked about steroids in my presence, never asked me to acquire steroids for him, never asked me to put him in contact to a known steroid dealer. So to this day, I still have to believe that he did not use PEDs, and that's my honest opinion.
I'll tell you another thing about Roger Clemens in that book. So the way you knew Jose was being honest was he was telling you what he knew about the people he knew about, but he wasn't giving you the guys like Barry Bonds. I mean, you talked a little bit about what you thought might have happened, but you did say, hey, I don't have any direct knowledge of that. I didn't, deal directly with Barry Bonds. But Roger Clemens, there's a line in that book where he goes, I never saw Roger Clemens cheat on his wife. And I was thinking, of all the guys who don't want this book around, if I was Roger Clemens, I'd get a copy of this book and lay it out for when my wife comes home, just on the kitchen table, open to that page. Oh, what's that?
What do you think they did to all the other guys that didn't get specifically mentioned?
And I was completely wrong. He did cheat on his wife, but ironically enough, I guess, him and I and the players would go out all the time. We'd have dinners. We'd go golfing. We'd go to events together. And I never, ever saw him cheat on his wife. Maybe he was that good that he hid that from me, and maybe he was using PEDs through another source. Maybe he was just, he had that aspect about him that he was just that good and that well hidden that I never really saw it.
Well, let me tell you how good this podcast is, and compliment to Jarett as well, because you're tasked with getting these stories out and kind of directing the traffic and everything. And when I started listening to you guys, it brought back so many memories of having Jose on the show, because being a sports radio station but not really liking sports other than combat sports, I always gravitated toward characters. I needed interesting personalities, people who could tell interesting stories even if you weren't a fan of the sports that they played. So Jose, Dennis Rodman, guys like that, you look to for stuff like that. So it brings back a lot of memories when I hear Jose tell a bunch of those stories. Do you remember coming to my party in L.A. with all the porn stars at the Roosevelt Hotel? Tommy Chong was there.
I do.
You remember that one? I
remember that party, and it was pretty exciting, a lot of fun. That must have been over, let me see, I've been living in Vegas for about 12, 13 years. Mm-hmm. So that must have been 13 or 14 years ago. Yeah, I mean, definitely the LA party, if you're a single guy, you can't miss them. They're a lot of fun. I remember going to the mansion, the Playboy Mansion on a constant level. I had my own parking spot there, where I'd bring in my one of my sports cars or one of my choppers. I'd park right outside the front door. I was invited to all their events, whether it be New Year's, their poker parties, their events, their pool parties. Of course, that doesn't happen now as much as it did in the past, but. Yeah, those LA parties were something.
Do you think that would have been a hard? Now here was me. This is me. I don't know, 6-7 years ago, Frank. You think this would have been a hard sell for Mrs. Mir? I've got a hotel suite rented out at the Roosevelt Hotel. And there's going to be a bunch of porn stars there. Jose's coming. There'll be a bunch of porn stars there. I think Tommy Chong's coming.
Oh, I'm sure Jose and Tommy were coming.
Yeah. Is that cool? Are you up to show up and tape the show?
I don't even like this hypothetical question because she just walked in.
She wasn't even scheduled to be here.
She's coming in. I'm all, no.
She wasn't.
She's got a gun in her hand. Oh shit!
Porn? What are you even talking about?
No, she's got an app on her phone that alerts her. It's like takes a pulse. Like she wasn't even planning to be here. She's like, wait a second, I need to report to the studio right now. What's going on? There's a disturbance in the force.
Isabella's making a cameo too.
Oh yes,
awesome.
There we go. The
Hello
next
there,
generation of mirrors. Hello. Bellamere is here. And Jennifer's back there somewhere. So Jose is even in the Playboy Mansion video game. Did you ever play yourself in that
Just
game?
sit there for right now.
Wait a minute, a 15-year-old just walked in.
Yeah,
we're a little restricted. Do you ever say I ever play with myself? Is that what you said?
No. You're in the
play
video
the
game.
Play myself in the game. No,
Yeah.
never.
Yeah.
In the video game.
Do you know they actually made a Playboy game? It's like a video game.
Oh,
it's
no
like
shit.
an interactive game, and you're in the mansion and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah, and Jose walks in. He's a character in it.
No shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
So
a character everywhere.
What are you doing? Like avoiding like puddles and like what do you?
I think you're just trying to score. And Jose's right. See, if you got invited to the parties that were like Hefner's parties, those were the ones you wanted to get to. If you got invited to one of the corporate things where somebody just rented it
That's
out,
a whole different
those could be
world.
bummers. Because
Yeah.
guys would show up and be like, where are all the girls at?
You wanted
know?
to be on Hefner's private
Yeah.
list to
Yeah.
get to hang out with him, his girls. His best parties were the Halloween parties, the
Midsummer
New Year's
nights.
party, the midsummer
Yeah.
nights. Holy moly!
I went to that one time.
Yeah, so
That
those
was
were
fun.
How you been,
They were-
Frank?
Let's talk softball.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how's everything going with you?
You know who has a great bit about that guest list, though, is Pauly Shore. Because Pauly Shore would talk about how if you're a celebrity, you got on the guest list, but how big of a celebrity you were depended on how many plus ones you got. So, like, if you're the low level, you're like a plus one, and then if you're a little better known, you can be plus two, plus three, or whatever. And Pauly was like, he's like, I'd get mad when I'd see a new celebrity, like some hot new celebrity, like when Leonardo DiCaprio first came on the scene, I'd be looking over at him going, hey, Corey Feldman and I worked hard for this spot, man.
Corey Feldman!
Get over there on your own corner. Yeah.
Too funny.
All right, well, everybody check that out, the Truth Hurts podcast with Jose and Jarett. So you guys are talking about adding a video component, stuff like that. So
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it. For
And
sure.
we're talking about maybe doing a live show together. So I won't say too much more than that, but we're just sitting around talking about it, and we've had a lot of fun doing those live shows, Frank, you and I, with Chael Sonnen and a bunch of fighters, and I think it'd be fun to do it with you guys. Because you guys, now how, okay, well, let me ask you this, Frank, Jose, how did you guys get to be friends?
Okay, well, Frank doesn't know this, but he had so many fans, through his whole career. I think I saw his first fight when he was 19 or 20 years old. I remember being in the clubhouse. Because here's the ironic, funny part about it is that all baseball players think they're fighters, right? Or actors. I think as an athlete, you always want to be something else. I could fight or I could act. No, we can't fight or act. No, we're just terrible. But I think I saw him fight. It was 19 or 20 years old. I said, look at that big-ass, good-looking guy kicking ass on all these people. Can we cuss on this show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're good.
Oh, 'cause we're good. Kicking ass on all these people, and I became a fan of his. And he had so many fans, around baseball. We used to watch him all the time. And I finally got to meet him. How many years was that, Frank, ago? 5 years, 6 years ago?
Yeah.
Then I met him again, I think a year later. Then we became friends through a mutual friend of his. And
Because I don't really take pictures with that many celebrities.
Yeah.
But Jose was at some fights, and I looked over, and I told my wife, I'm like, oh, shit, that's Jose Canseco. And she goes, really? I'm like, she goes, why don't you go up and ask him? I'm like, fuck, I always feel, I'm like, because, I'm not used to doing it. I'm like, well, fuck it, throw it out there. So I walked, I was like, hey, Jose. He goes, hey, and he knew who I was. I was like, no shit, you know who I am. All right, well, fuck, obviously I know who you are.
Did you give him the secret Cuban handshake,
Yeah.
that thing you guys do? Yeah.
yeah, we both have a Latin background. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm Cuban. I think his dad's
Yeah, my
Cuban,
father's
so I didn't
Cuban.
really know that.
Yeah.
So I started learning more about him, and then lately, what's been going on is that mutual friends we've been hanging out, but now we have a celebrity charity softball tournament home run derby here the 15th in Vegas at the what's it called now?
Las Vegas ballpark.
Las Vegas
Where our minor league team
Aviators.
is
Yeah.
playing in Summerlin, the Aviators. Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
so I've been helping Frank out, with his hitting and his power and stuff like that for the last a couple times in a week. And of course, his daughter Bella, who's an amazing MMA fighter, who's going to be the biggest thing ever in women's MMA. I truly believe that. You got to see her to softball. It's incredible. Frank did hit one further than her, but at a consistent level.
Maybe.
Bella's hitting him further than Frank.
Yeah.
So I've been working on her in her power hitting aspect, and she's got incredibly quick hands, incredibly strong, and can just demolish a softball. So I truly believe that she can go any route she wants. She's so multi-talented.
I
It's
wanted
incredible.
to actually work it out with them, be like, hey, guys, it's kind of funny. It's a celebrity thing. Can I, when I go up to bat, no, I'm going to, I'm going to call my daughter over. Watch what my daughter can do. as a joke, you know, and everybody else, you know, she hits better than I do. You know,
Yeah.
she's played softball, so you know. But to sit there and go, well, yeah, that's what my girl can do. I'm not even gonna bother hitting it. You know.
You got to get her that bat. You got to get a couple at bats. I want to get her in that bat. Watch her launch it.
She smashes it.
Yeah. We you know, that tickled me when Frank told me that you guys had become fast friends. So I like it when worlds collide like that. Now I'm just waiting for him to cross paths with Ron Jeremy, and that'll be fun.
I would love to sit and talk to Ron Jeremy. Hey, that mindset to be able to do certain things, like I'm always like, whether you tight ropes or jump out of planes, there are people that can do things that I can't do. I like talking to them, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to make a joke. I can't ever have been an adult star, you know what I mean? Like, the idea of doing that in front of people, I guess I'm just not that much of a
Not for $5 million, $10 million, Frank. Come on.
Well, money
you would
does
try.
talk. I would try. I don't know how successful I would be at it.
Hey, just take the money and run.
For $5 million or $10 million, his wife would
Jesus.
make him. That'd be
there you
Frank would be
go.
like, I don't want to do gay porn.
Well, $20 million then.
Hey, Bella.
We got
How
the
you
wire
doing?
transfer already. Shut up.
Just went from an X-rated show to where we're going now.
Well,
with
I'll
this.
tell you, I know exactly what you're talking about. It wasn't any different than when I got into town and I knew we were filming. And Jose goes, "All right, get your stuff ready. We're going to meet Frank Mir and we're going to do some batting practice." And I'm like, "Yeah, all right, no big deal."
Yeah, right. He
Whatever.
started shaking.
Who cares? He was my favorite MMA fighter.
Yeah, he
It's
started
not a big
shaking.
deal for Frank Mir.
I saw your legs shaking when you were talking to him like
Did you see how nervous he was when he met me?
No. Are you kidding me? This guy fights guys 300 pounds. You're like, "Puh."
Just a lot of excitement.
Nervous,
man.
kidding
big
me?
podcast host.
Well, speaking of fights here, Frank, where do you want? You guys good to hang out? Are we? You guys?
Yeah, we're good.
You're good. Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start here first, Frank? Because we've got fights to talk about. Bellator's this weekend. Our buddy Chael Sonnen's in action against Lyoto Machida. We had a big fight of big weekend of UFC fights last weekend, and you and I were both at Disneyland this past week, which is our happy place. Frank and I'm not sure you and I love anything in a combined fashion more than we do Disneyland.
Yeah, I was very happy to actually get the opportunity. Friends of ours.
Are we going to start there? You want to start with Disneyland, our review of the new Star Wars
Yeah.
Galaxy's Edge? All right. If you're here for the fight talk, hang around a little bit. We'll get to that.
I guess we
But
talk. Well,
what do you want to do?
Man, I guess my heart wants to go with Disney.
This is an amazing transition. Ron Jeremy to Disneyland.
Yeah, that's what we
I
do.
just want to sit back and enjoy this.
How did we get there?
All right, I tell you what. Let's get to that. We'll talk fights here in a minute, so hang around for that if that's what you came for. But if you didn't know, just over this last week, it was the grand opening of the new land at Disneyland, which is Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, the biggest expansion the park has ever done, and it was the grand opening, and we went. Frank and I went on back-to-back days. And this thing, I mean, for those who don't know, who aren't aware, we love it so much. We've got the season passes. You always take the family and all that kind of stuff. And now your Jennifer has gotten my Jennifer into all the Disney merchandising down that expensive rabbit hole. And so we look for any opportunity we can to go together. So let's pick it up from there. You took the whole family out with a friend of yours. We met up out there. Yep.
Bella could be here too, since she was
All right.
part of it.
I brought photos, by the way, so I'd have a little
cool.
to tell you what we saw from
got both?
Disneyland. Yeah.
They're now, so we'll have a transition period.
Okay. So, Danny's taking off. Okay. You're good, man. Okay. Yeah, he's got a slide behind Mikey. All right, good to see you. We had a full house in the studio today. Yeah. Look at this mysterious, powerful fist
You guys going to talk about
stepping into the camera shot there.
Khabib saying that McGregor's out, no rematch for him?
We'll get to that. Yes, we will definitely. We'll definitely get to that.
Anytime you talk,
Let's talk.
the headphones, 'cause
Let's talk first impressions, Frank, of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge from the mirror perspective.
it's actually an incredible experience. Because, like I said, I had friends of ours, JP, and his wife Crystal. They actually called us up last minute because we had actually originally made plans to go up there for June 1st, I think was the opening, or June 2nd, whatever the
June
opening.
1st was actually May 31st.
May 31st,
was the
okay.
very first opening
And
day.
so we were going to do a tour, and then we were told that the tours weren't going inside Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
So at that point, we canceled.
The tour you're talking about is where you hire the private tour guide, and they can pretty much take you right up to the front of any ride, but they weren't doing that for Galaxy's Edge for the Grand
so
Opening.
then we figured, okay, and then you had to go in there. It was only a 4-hour window. So it seemed like it was just going to be too much chaos and too busy. We figured, it's kind of like a new movie when it first comes out.
Yeah.
I don't usually catch them on opening weekend because it's nuts. So then they called us up and were like, hey, you know what? We found out through the grapevine that 40% of the reservations have been canceled. Our friends went there. They said there's no lines whatsoever. And so we looked on our Disney app. Sure enough, it was like 5-minute line wait for here, 15-minute for that. So we seriously just jumped in the car and drove down there.
And let's explain something about that. So with the reservations being canceled, I got online about a month ago when they first came available. It was like getting concert tickets in the old days. I was, like, oh, hurry, click. You just keep hitting refresh. And I got our reservations for that particular day this past Friday. But there was a lot of confusion on the rollout because they kept all that information pretty secret until the last minute. So I could see, Jennifer and I are just two people. I could see where a lot of people with kids, families, work schedules, things like that. It was hard to work around. Now, we walked in at 8 a.m. We got there at 6 a.m. to check in, and they had us in this little holding area even before the park opened.
But you didn't know about that till I told you, right, the day before?
Yeah.
I was like, hey, we had to be there 2 hours early. And you're like, we're there at 8. I'm like, shit, do they really expect you to be there at 6 in the morning?
Oh, and we were. We were there at 6 a.m. Now, I brought some photos and video. Now, this is a still photo of what it looks like. First off, this thing... The colors and what they use to paint this thing, it's really hard to do it justice in a description, but the attention to detail is so incredible. Like, if you look at the people below, they look like they're interlopers on a movie set. Like, the color scheme is so perfect. Yeah. It looks like you're looking at a movie screen like this, and then that looks like a bunch of people standing in front of a movie screen.
No, absolutely.
But it's real. Do you have the video, Mikey, of where we first walked in? Let's go to that. This is where they... First list, this is it, right? Yeah, this is when we're first walking in the park here. And kind of seeing it for the first time there.
I love looking at all the phones.
Oh, yeah. It's capturing their first moments in. So that person's directing us over to Olga's Cantina. That's the first place we went. Now, that's the cantina. That's the cantina in Star Wars that where Greedo and Han Solo had their gunfight, right?
Who drew first? Right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the first place we went. On your advice, you said go to the cantina first, right?
Because we couldn't make it. We got so invested in doing the make your saber or your light sword and make your robot. That by the time it was
here's video of the cantina. By the way, if you're watching on our Phone Booth Fighting YouTube channel, you can see all this. This is video of inside the cantina. And you had told me, Frank, you said it's going to be just like walking onto a movie set. And it was.
To the point where it was like almost walking in a different planet. Like, you're like, man, I just walked into the movie.
Yeah, and this, they actually sell alcohol in here. It's like the only place in Disneyland where they sell alcohol.
I like how even such attention to detail that, there's a lot of themed bars but once you get to the bar aspect, from the bar back.
Yeah, pause it for a second.
The bottles and whatnot are a normal bar.
Yeah.
Even there at the Galaxy's Edge at the cantina, the bar itself, like all the apparatuses that were holding the alcohol and distributing the alcohol, completely, enveloped in the image of being at this cantina.
Yeah. So we went to that first and witnessed people drinking at 8 a.m. That was a sight. Then the premier ride attraction there right now is the Millennium Falcon, the craft that Han Solo and Chewbacca flew in. By the way, Jarett, Jose, you guys Star Wars at all?
I'm a huge Star Wars fan. But let me make a funny comment.
Yeah.
So, Frank, anytime you want to go to Disney World, here's how we did it. I had a softball tournament down there. I have it every year. I went on Twitter and I said, does anyone know how to get tickets to Disney World for the rides? And how do you avoid all these long lines? And we got replies back saying, I'm one of the hires up at Disney World. Don't worry about it. Mr. Canseco, we're going to comp the tickets for you and give you a front of line pass. If they're a big MMA fan, and of course they know Frank Mir, just do that, and I guarantee you someone will call you back and you'll be set up.
That's the way to do it.
This
so,
is some serious geek shit for me, so I'm just sitting back and enjoying.
yeah. So the ride. Okay, so the big ride attraction right now is the Millennium Falcon. This ride to me, Frank, was completely immersive. You know, one of the things I'm a big fan of at Disneyland is that the experience really begins when you first get in the line. Like, in fact, it's one of the things, if you don't stand in the lines, you kind of do miss out on that part, which is the whole experience of you feel like you're in that ride from the time you get in the line. 100%. And Disneyland has taken it to a new level with this Millennium Falcon ride. Go to some of the Millennium Falcon stuff there, Mikey. Okay, like this right here is just the hallway going into the actual ride. And you sit in the actual cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, you fly it, or you're a gunner. It takes so you get 6 people in there at one time. And that's the thing. It's an incredibly intimate experience because for as many people as there are in there, to do something just 6 people at one time like that is pretty incredible. They also have where's the chessboard? Yeah, this one right here. So there's the chessboard that they all sit around playing on, the Millennium Falcon. Like, it isn't just one of those, like, you know, you see a movie set and then behind the camera is just plywood or something. This is a complete 360 degree immersive experience. Keep going. What else we got there, Mikey?
I think those are the 3.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now you mentioned building the droid. Explain that, Frank, because I got video of that. We didn't do that, but I know all the mirrors did.
Yeah, we all got in there and we got to pick a droid, and you go up there and you start off with the 2 baselines, the R2D2 style
video of it right
or
here.
you could pick out a what is it?
BB-8.
R2D2 or BB-8.
BB-8.
Yeah. This is the
funny.
assembly line video you're
Pretty
talking
much
about
all
right
the
here.
adults pick the R2D2 and all the
Okay.
kids pick the
Yeah.
BB-8. So you sit there and you pick out the body, the head, the legs, you know. And then you go over there with your little basket over to the building section, and they activate your robot and you put it together.
This is crazy with the droid
That's
legs.
pretty cool.
That's really
Coming,
cool.
yeah. Now these droids.
Oh, what, you geek? You like it now because it's cool?
I can appreciate something cool.
Yeah, so
Just
those are
because
the
you guys are a bunch of
stations.
nerds.
You see the guys right here, everybody putting their bots together.
Yeah.
And then they pair it with your remote control. And each one has a personality. They start learning and developing as you walk around the park because they have a little Wi-Fi signal that starts giving off, and you'll start chirping up. And it was funny. I went home and because you walk around from that whole time.
Yeah.
They wanted to do more things after we had our 4 or 5 hours there. So I went back to the hotel and I took a nap. And so we're in this big suite and there's 12 of these robots now because everybody has a robot and they're all sitting there. Even the people in the other room, because we came back and they didn't. We kept all the robots that are out there. Well, they feed off each other. So at one point, I'm like kind of waking up at like 7 and I'm kind of groggy in and out of it. And I hear like fucking full on robotic conversations.
There's a party going on over there.
Yeah, like odd. So then I assumed, oh, everybody came back. They're all hanging out in the fucking the front part of the suite. Oh, everybody's here, And then when I got out, I looked around. There's just nothing but robots. It was like a real eerie kind of like, wow, this made me feel a little weird now. You know what I mean? Like,
That's a power move, Frank, when you go ahead and get a separate hotel room for the droids. That's strong right there. So we did, what else I got there, Mikey? Go to where play this. Let me see what I got here. I think this is just okay, so here's a pan of the Millennium Falcon. That's the size of the ship right there. You're underneath the Millennium Falcon right there. So it's not even, I mean, like they have a full-scale Millennium Falcon built there.
Did you or Jen do either one, the robot or the sword?
We did not. We saw it happening. We checked it out.
Sword was cool.
Yeah, I think we'll do that next time.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
a $200 item.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's
to
expensive.
build a lightsaber.
But they really put a lot behind it.
Yeah.
First of all, the lightsaber itself is really, I mean, you pick it up, it's a big hunk of metal. Like, it's not flimsy. And it doesn't feel like a toy that's going to fall apart when you get home. So you're standing in line, you get to pick one of 4 builds. One was like power and control. One was like peace, protection. Elemental, that was the other one. And so you pick one of those 4 builds, and then you go in there, and then you get to choose your kyber crystal, and they have a selection of, I think, 4.
Yeah.
What happens is they act like they're basically your Jedis creating your sword, and they go through there and explain what each crystal means.
Yeah.
And pick your crystal, and then and then they come out with a platform of different devices. So even if the person next to you picked the same concept as you,
Yeah.
between the hilt and the guard and everything on the sword, the activation switch. There's multiple choices within each build, so you can go in there,
It's personal.
20 different times and
Yeah.
come up with 20 different swords.
Now this is pretty cool. This is another outdoor shot right up here. This is you see the TIE fighter, the Empire's TIE fighter right there. Now you'll hear in the audio. Listen, they just got these random 2 stormtroopers up there on this bridge, like standing guard, watching the crowd. But you can hear them talking to each other. Play that, Mikey. So they're just, I mean, you really feel like you just walked into the movie. It sounds, it sounds hyperbolic, but it's not. Which one?
Kylo Ren was.
Yeah, go to, I've got a clip of, go keep going, Mikey. Did we not get that video? Maybe we didn't get that video clip. Keep going. No, we may not have it.
Let me look for it real quick.
That's okay. Yeah, while you're looking. Okay, so those are all the things that are cool about it. And after, I think by the way, we're going back a week from Friday. I got 2 reservations. This is what you can do when you're single, you have no kids. I mean, like Frank is dad of the year. Like, he's awesome the way his family does stuff. But I will tell you that Jennifer and I did gloat a little bit when we're in line at 6 a.m. We watch all these parents deal with like strollers and crying babies and stuff, and we just looked over there at the 2 of us and we're like, yeah, traveling light.
That's
just
a really
the 2 of
shitty
us.
flex. Of
Yeah.
of a dad with 3 kids. I can tell you right now, that was a tough one.
Yeah.
That's a tough one to
But so we're going back next week.
It is amazing though when you have children. I always tell people this when they first have kids. I'm like, like our friend Ruben, who's been on the show, physical therapist. His girl is about 7 months pregnant now, I think. And so I keep fucking with him. He comes over the house, and one of the things I told him, I was like, hey, you know how like when I call you up, I'm like, hey, appointment's changed. Can you come over and work on me now? And you say, yeah, I'll be there in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Kiss those fucking days goodbye.
Yeah.
There is no leaving the house and being somewhere in 15 minutes when you have small children. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, everything's an adventure.
Last year for Father's Day, I asked for an uninterrupted shit. That was what I asked for, and here's what makes it the best part is that I said that's all that I wanted. I got laughed at. I woke up in the morning. I went into the bathroom. Before I even sat down, my first son walked in and said, Daddy, can you put the passcode in my phone for me? And I said, okay, no problem, bud. I'll take care of that for you. And then my other son walked in and goes, well, why does he get to play on the phone? Isn't it my turn to play on the phone right now? And then my wife walked in and said, guys, get out of the bathroom. Why? And I looked at her and went, I asked for one thing, and now everyone in the house is in the bathroom at one time. So
How many kids you got?
So I have 3 small kids, and then I have a 21-year-old stepdaughter. So I've got 4 kids, but I have 3 small boys right now.
Damn.
10, 6, and
Stop it
almost 2.
already.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I'll tell you another thing I'm always amazed at is when I see people, like parents, giving their kids their phone, and they just play with the phone. Like,
Oh, dude, nobody touches my phone.
I would not, couldn't do that. So,
Really, there's not those times. I mean, I even do that now with Ronan. Well, Ronan has his own phone now. But for a while there, because he's just now turned 10, I'm not giving my 8-year-old a fucking iPhone. You know what I mean? I just didn't see the purpose in it. But we'd be out to dinner, and and there'd be times where, like, I'm trying to talk to Jen, and Bella's immersed in her phone, Cage is immersed in his phone, and now poor Ronan doesn't have a fucking phone. So like now, like I'm the one who has to be his entertainment, or he's bugging his brother or sister, and then they want to fight, and so I'm just like, fucking take my phone here, and so now.
no, I just mean my phone, because I got prostitutes
I was
on
gonna
there
say,
trying to schedule
I
their
see
work,
what you're
do their
My
work
phone,
schedules.
I'm not working,
I don't.
smash my phone. It's insured, but that kid hits the camera button, and I've got a whole long discussion to go through, and I'm just not interested in that. So.
Right.
I would pay to see your phone.
All right, so let me ask you this, Frank. So they're also going to add later on in the year. There's a second big feature ride that's coming. So lots to look forward to. I don't know when we do this stuff. I mean, I know it's regional. Like, if you're,
I wanted you to build the sword. You got to build the sword, dude.
probably next time.
I
we're
got
gonna
to
do it.
see what kind of sword you build,
Well,
and
this is
then I'll show you the
Fun
sword I built.
drive.
Yeah, well, you know what's funny is we're looking at those, and we went in. Jennifer and I went in. We're like, well, yeah. I mean, we don't have kids. That's probably not something we'll do. We're looking at them, and on the way out, I go, we're eventually gonna get one or two of those, right? She's like, yeah, I know, we will build them. But when we do this conversation, our Disneyland recaps and reviews, I mean, it is regional. Like, I'm sure more West Coast listeners are relatable to it than maybe some other places, unless you travel to Disneyland. Hopefully, our enthusiasm, our mutual love of this comes through, so you're interested in it. I know a lot of Star Wars geeks are interested in this particular topic. So here's what I want to ask you, Frank. So we talked about all the things that are great about it. Any complaints? I have two small concerns. You go first.
The only one that actually Mrs. Mir and Bella had, and I didn't run into this, is that at one point the wife wanted to shop. Go figure, right? So they asked some of the employees, like, where do we go for here, or where, looking for certain items.
Yeah.
And at that moment, they're so in character that asking for merchandise to go buy, they gave directions, but it was very, vague. And, if you were like, hey, where's the market? Well, if you need to buy stuff, the market is over there. You know what I mean? Like, well, if I want to find a T-shirt, they're like we wouldn't be at.
Yeah, they speak in futuristic language. So it's not money, it's like credits.
Yeah.
And our phones were data something or another's, and it can be a little bit of a vague conversation, but they don't miss a sale. You ask them about the store and they're like, the Force tells me this rack is 20% off. Like they still get the point across.
But I mean, I think that was the only thing that I heard anybody in our group say anything that was even slightly negative. It could have been that.
Here are my two complaints. Number one, the cantina has a DJ in it, not a band. There's supposed to be a band in the cantina.
It's true.
Now, if it's
which with the animatronics, I don't know why they didn't do that.
I don't either. Now, unless I'm missing something, is there something? Maybe Bella knows this. Is there? Do they ever revisit the cantina in any of the movies, or do you know if it's only in the very first Star Wars? That's what I know it from. The cantina.
Oh, I only remember from the first one, but
right.
But from the new ones you're talking about.
Yeah, because I haven't seen some of the brand new.
The new ones.
No canteen.
I don't remember seeing the canteen.
All right. So
I think in some of the preludes there was what was it? Was it episode 2 when Anakin and Obi-Wan are looking for someone, and I think they go through like a bar area.
Yeah. I don't know. Well,
no one else.
What I do know is the DJ played that song. He played the song.
Yes,
from the band plays, and everybody reacted to it. Yeah. So I was like, well, there should be a band playing this, where they're all playing the little horns and stuff.
Now, you got to actually eat in there, though?
We did, yeah. We had
what was the food like?
It was a little snack stuff, because it was 8 o'clock in the morning, but it was pretty good. It was like wasabi, little chip, kind of like a kind of a futuristic.
That's my only.
Trail
I guess
mix.
if I had a complaint,
right.
it was just wasn't enough time to do the swords, do the droids, because everything was immersive. So it was like But when we went and did the swords, we got in line, and that took an hour to get to the front. And then they give you like a ticket to basically come back at a certain time. So we went and did the ride, and then we came back. It was like, come back in 15 minutes. Okay, 15 more minutes. Because the problem is that they only allow 12 people at a time are building their swords. And if there's an issue, it isn't like it's a ride where you just get off and someone will jump on. Like, they have to help you finish your completion. So, I mean, if you're dealing with 12 people trying not to be idiots, it's a fucking gamble that we took, and guess what? We lost.
Well, now you know why he didn't make the sword, because he sat down and ate in Disney, and that was the budget for the sword.
Yeah,
that was probably at least the 200.
Actually, it was. It wasn't bad. I mean, everything. I want to say the drinks were like $8 a piece, something like that. Yeah, whatever for the
$8 hot dogs. Come on now.
Yeah,
$10 hamburgers.
Well,
really?
See, but here's the thing: we load up like we're being deployed. We each have a backpack, and we're bringing our own food in there.
Well, they're vegans.
Yeah, so a lot of that we have to carry our own stuff.
Well, it's funny. He carries his own chocolate chip cookies because Disneyland, no, and it makes sense once you hear it. I mean,
it's a hell of a friend to have.
California Park, right? They have the ride, the Incredicoaster, right? Well, there's a scene, and I didn't notice until he pointed it out to me, where Jack's disappearing, and his dad, Mr. Incredible, goes cookie, because he knows if he gives him a cookie, the kid will snap back into our reality and he can give them to him, right? So they pump in some kind of aromatic cookie smell as you're going through the roller coaster. Well, when you get done, there's a place to buy cookies, but not for a vegan. So he's like, oh, this sucks. Now I want cookies and I can't eat a cookie. So he has a backpack of Tupperware. So he gets off the ride, pulls out his cookies.
The night before I go to Disneyland, I bake my own vegan chocolate chip cookies. And then we have those when we get off the ride.
What do you do to replace the egg?
Any special
You
ingredients?
just don't have to put dairy in it. Actually, chocolate chip cookies are one of the easiest things to make vegan. Like, there's a lot of stuff that could easily be vegan that's not, just because people have always thrown an egg in it or something, but you can take that out and you won't hardly miss it.
That's the egg and the dairy is what you got to worry about.
Exactly. Now, that was number one. Here's my other complaint. Now, I don't know how many people caught on to this. Did you guys even ride Space Mountain this time around while you were there?
Yeah.
You did. All right. Well, Space Mountain, one of the more storied rides at Disneyland, a strong reputation in its own right.
Oldest ride, longest line.
Yeah, has all of a sudden been renamed Hyperspace Mountain. Now, I noticed this when we get in line. I thought, well, what's with this? Why have they put
I
Hyperspace
vaguely remember you
Mountain
asking
on?
me if I remember being called that, and
Inside of it, it's a lot different.
Exactly.
When you're inside of the
Lean on in there.
when you're inside of the when you're in the seats, like on the roller coaster,
Yes.
it's like you're in the airplanes in Star Wars. So when you're going through it, like on the edge of like the sides, when you're going through it, looks like you're shooting out like the rays
Oh, they
into
changed it,
other
huh?
people.
And
Yeah, so it's like a
that-
whole different like story. Like you're in a spaceship trying to like kill other spaceships and like go through it and survive. Like it's like a whole story
And
now.
therein lies my complaint. Space Mountain is supposed to be dark and dusty and mysterious, and now it's not. And it looks like, here's what it looks like. Because we got in line, and Jennifer knows, she goes, does it look like they put a couple of Star Wars images up here? And it's not like a Galaxy's Edge over on the other side of the park. This looks like somebody went to Party City for their kids' Star Wars themed birthday party and stuck a few decorations up. So they've messed with the sanctity of it, you know. And that's one thing Disneyland does sometimes that I don't like. Everything doesn't need a character slapped on it. Like, for example, I want the Haunted Mansion to stay the Haunted Mansion. You know, Disney's going to buy everything. So when they eventually get around to buying Post cereal, I don't want to see them slap Count Chocula onto the Haunted Mansion. Just leave that alone, right? All right, well, there's my second. So I have to write a strongly
He went
worded email.
way back with Count Chocula.
Thank you.
You
Thank
must
you,
be
Jose.
my age, because I used to eat that when I was a little kid.
That's right.
Way back there.
That's right.
I was
That's
in Count Chocula.
That's my job on the podcast, is to bring in all the old people.
Used to love Count
yeah,
Chocula.
yeah. Just when we're alienating our older demo, I usually say something so antiquated that everybody's like, "Oh, I remember Count Chocula." All right. Well, anyway, so there's our review, but 5 stars overall. 5
right.
stars for me. Absolutely.
I can't wait till it opens up fully and we can go in there all the time.
Yeah. All right, let's talk some fights. Bellator 222 is this weekend, Frank, and it features in the main event Neiman Gracie taking on Rory McDonald. Rory McDonald's in this really interesting position in this welterweight tournament they're doing over there, because he's in the tournament, but he's basically got to defend the title every time he fights in the tournament. So even if he goes all the way, you're talking about a succession of very quick title defenses.
True, and that's one reason why, if anybody notices, all the fights are 5-round fights for everybody in the tournament, because everybody has to, because the fact that he's a champ and his fights are 5 rounds, everybody else who's in the tournament are fighting 5-round fights.
Wouldn't be fair if other people got to advance with 3-round
And that's something
fights.
Bellator doesn't do with their main events
Yeah.
normally. UFC does that, where they have a 5-round fight for a main event that's non-title.
Yeah.
But Bellator, if you're a main event, it's still 3 rounds.
Now, Roy is coming off of a 5-round draw to John Fitch, because he was the incumbent champion. He got to keep the belt, and now he defends it against Neiman Gracie. Neiman Gracie, so far, I think, as the new guard of Gracie's, has acquitted himself quite well in Bellator. But here's the thing. Neiman Gracie, obviously, by virtue of the name alone, you would expect to have a submission advantage on the ground. But he's fighting a guy who is a modern, all-around, complete mixed martial artist in Rory McDonald. He's going to have to get the fight to the ground to employ those submission skills. Rory McDonald, with his effective boxing, and for that matter, a strong top game when it comes to wrestling, I think may be able to keep Neiman Gracie from ever getting to the place he really wants to be.
Or, and if he does decide to take Neiman down, because he has great takedowns too, Roy McDonald does, he'll stay in position that he can just inflict a lot of pain and punishment. And grappling is still extremely effective, but position's very important. On a side note, that's why I'm starting to really not be such a fan of the submission-only combat grappling type of, or grappling tournaments, because I realize that you give points to someone for being in a good position, because if we were fighting top side control or Mount are pretty good places to be in, so you should be rewarded for it. And that being said, that's why Rory McDonald, I still feel, has an edge on the grappling aspect, because he'll always be in good position. I just can't see how Neiman's going to put Rory on his back in a bad position and be able to keep him there and be able to then solidify a submission.
I concur with your thoughts there. Now, in the co-main event, our old buddy Chael Sonnen is taking on former UFC light heavyweight champion Lyoto Machida. And speaking of curious stylistic matchups, this is going to be, from my perspective, Chael Sonnen's wrestling against Lyoto Machida's desire to never get out of that karate stance.
Yeah, very similar type of matchup is when Lyoto fought Randy Couture.
Yeah. Somebody
who has a really good clinch game, who looks to close distance, and he's just hard to catch. Even John Jones, who's the best fighter in the world, I think lost his first round to Lyoto in that fight. Eventually was able to grab him and put him against the cage and choked him unconscious. But Lyoto has an extremely difficult game and hard to get a hold of. So it just, unless you're able to catch him and get a hold of him and do something, I think it's going to be hard. I think basically it's going to be a typical Lyoto fight. Chael chasing him around, trying to get him in the clinch, try to get him against the cage, with Lyoto landing shots and moving out of the way.
Yeah. It's now turning our attention to what happened this past week. By the way, that's going to air Friday night on DAZN. And quick side conversation, we may not reach any conclusions here, but I am still so confused by what's happening with Bellator and DAZN, because it seems like anything that involves this welterweight tournament only airs on DAZN. You know how sometimes they've aired the fights? Because I think your last fight was both on Paramount and also on DAZN. Right. But now they're getting into this thing where some of them only air on DAZN. I can't figure out when they're going back to Paramount sometimes. I don't know. It's a little ambiguous over there with that. We got to sort that out. Okay, so huge UFC pay-per-view this past weekend. If you didn't hear about that, but you probably did. Henry Cejudo becomes the latest double champ in the UFC. Of course, you had Cormier, who captured the heavyweight and the light heavyweight title. You had Conor McGregor, who did it with featherweight and lightweight. You have Amanda Nunes, who's done it with the women's bantamweight title and the women's featherweight title. Cejudo comes in as the men's flyweight champ. He captures the vacant bantamweight title, defeating Marlon Moraes. And I tell you what, Marlon Moraes was absolutely dominating him throughout the entire first round, and Cejudo made one of the biggest adjustments I've ever seen from one round to the next, and comes back and completely runs a clinic on Moraes, completely drains his gas tank, and finishes Moraes. Now, with that, Cejudo becomes not only the bantamweight champion, but apparently single-handedly saves the flyweights, because Dana White, after the fight, confirmed in the post-fight press conference that the flyweight division would live on, and I don't think that's a guarantee that anybody had up to that point. So it does seem like Henry Cejudo's emergence as a legitimate, bankable star seems to have single-handedly resurrected the flyweight division. Good news for those guys.
Yeah, it was weird too. He had, at one point, Moraes just was allowing Cejudo just to throw knees on his face, and it was like, at one point I was like, are they just not hard enough that he cares to move out of the way? Which I can't imagine someone throws a light knee, just maybe a bad weight cut, because it looked like he just completely just shut down.
The ticket to Moraes' success was going to be the low kicks, which it absolutely was in the first round, but Cejudo was going to want to clinch up and make it dirty, and that's exactly what he did, starting with the second. What do you think? I mean, the one thing that came out of that, and I think Henry Cejudo is now he realizes, okay, I'm a bankable star. I'm holding two simultaneous titles. I need to try to be a little bit more of a character and sell pay-per-views. That was the problem with the last guy who was the flyweight champion. One of our all-time favorite guys, Demetrius Johnson, was just so genuine of a guy that he wasn't the cartoon character, like a Conor McGregor. And I think Cejudo may be trying trying a little too hard to be that at this point.
Yeah, he just doesn't have it.
And I think it's a little bit of a reach at this point, despite the fact that you look at his recent track record of defeating TJ Dillashaw for that matter. I think it's a little bit too early to be anointing ourselves the greatest mixed martial arts athlete of all time. I don't think we're quite there yet.
Nowhere close to some of the things that like Anderson Silva or John Jones or were able to put into, numbers as far as consistently just dominating champions. And it wasn't even like I really felt the fight with TJ Dillashaw or DJ was that dominant, Right. And then the fight with TJ I thought stopped way too early, what I mean? So it isn't like I don't think John Jones has had a victory where you sat there besides his one with Gus is the only one in his history, and he went back and demolished the guy in their rematch, where you can sit there and go, well, that was kind of close. It's like, no, every fight. In fact, you really get to have an idea of how good John is. I mean, look, Daniel Cormier is the second best fighter in the world, and he just knocked him the fuck out, Yeah. Whereas, the kid Smith, he just went out there and fought Gus.
Anthony
looked ferocious.
Smith, yeah.
But if you watch the fight with John Jones, Anthony Smith looked like he shouldn't even belong on the UFC. Like, wow, this guy's not very good. He was really food for the fodder. You know what I mean? The guy was just tossed out there. Then you see him fight other guys like Gus, who's really good. You're like, oh shit, that guy's really good. You're like, holy shit, John's that good. Henry Cejudo, I mean, he throws kicks kind of funny. You know what I mean? Like, he's not the best fighter pound for pound. Not on my list. I don't even put him in the top 5 of pound for pound, to be honest with you.
I'd have to consider. I'd have to sit down and look at it at this point. If I might find a place for him in the top 5. But I'll say this: he's on a path. I'm certainly willing to take that journey with him. I just think it's a little bit early to be declaring it.
And he's a little bit more dominant in his fights. I mean, I'm for it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, you have to have numbers behind that to make that claim where you sit there and go, well, this guy has defended his title 13 times, or this guy has, John Jones never's lost a fight in MMA except for a disqualification.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And fought guys that no one else has ever beaten. Until Daniel Cormier had never lost a round, and John goes and beats him twice in a row. Those are accolades for saying that you're the greatest combat athlete. I'm not there.
We're not there yet.
Go ahead, no.
All right. Speaking of dominance, we got to talk about the KO of Jessica I at the foot of Valentina Shevchenko. That's one of the scariest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that was impressive.
Is this a video of it?
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at this, Mikey. This was frightening. All right, here's Shevchenko.
Oh.
There she goes. And she laid there for the better part of 10 minutes.
Is that a broken jaw, Frank?
No, I hit her on the top of the forehead.
Oh, my God.
I think he hit her in the temple on the side a little bit because afterwards when she got up,
Yeah,
you'll see a knot of blood right on the right temple right there.
Shit.
Yeah, when she walks out, she has like a big knot on the side of her
But that is a lot of force because to knock someone out, here's some intelligent commentary for you guys. The skull moves and the brain, because it's 85% water, creates a vacuum and it shifts around, right? Causes, the blackout, basically, right? So that's why everybody thinks hitting someone on the chin is important. It's not. It's about moving the skull and my brain staying in the same spot, which that causes a problem, right? So the lever of my chin can move my head really, really fast. That's why, same thing with like football players. The guys that get knocked out cold, usually the wide receiver, going over the middle, all of a sudden he gets hit by a safety going the opposite direction, so his brain crushes on the front of his skull because his brain's still traveling north, even though now his body's traveling south, and then it causes that vacuum and the ricochet of the brain, right? So to knock someone out, to hit them straight on and put them to sleep is an extremely powerful shot. You don't really see a person get hit straight on and go to sleep. It just doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Because the amount of energy to move my skull back, my neck is thick, and the way my head pivots, all human beings, it's just not very fast. Now, not that you can't bust your nose. You'll see guys like the fight with Robbie Lawler and Rory McDonald. Robbie hit him with a straight left, and you see Rory drop down because it crushed his eye socket, right? It crushed bones in his face. So he fell down. But as far as the go to sleep, it's usually always on the chin to move the head, to create that spinning effect. That's why, like, the worst punches you see sometimes on the internet are when they tap guys on the shoulder and the guy looks over his shoulder and the guy hits him. Well, because he's moving one direction and then boom, he gets hit and the head spins back over. And again, your brain stays in place because of inertia. Your skull's moving and then boom, your brain's doing this, rattling inside, and it shuts you down. And so the fact that that kick came at that angle and knocked her back and knocked her out for that long, that kick had tons of velocity on it. You know what I mean? Like that's impressive.
That Valentina Shevchenko is a killer. And, I think it opens up all kinds of interesting discussion. I mean, not only what could possibly be next for her in the flyweight division, but also could we see her rematch Amanda Nunes, even though she's lost to her twice at this point. I'm absolutely in for seeing that again. And that, to me, that's a high compliment you can pay when you've seen two people fight twice and the same person has won both times and you still want to see it a third time.
And the second fight was kind of strange, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it was debatable.
It was very, I remember I think because I saw it at the airport. I was in Russia. And I remember kind of watching it going, I really don't know who's winning. I remember there was one of those fights where I'm like, fuck, man, I hate to be a judge right now because this is fucking really, one girl's marching forward, one's throwing a combo. Like, who the fuck's winning this fight, Yeah, it was debatable. Feature bout, Tony Ferguson stops Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Cerrone was only seeing out of one eye. That right eye closed completely. We were talking about that just a second ago. Good for Tony Ferguson in the sense of, he came into this with all kinds of strange problems going on. He had been having some mental issues and hearing some voices and things like that had him under some intense medical evaluation. But it was good to see him come back and not look like he had missed a beat. And it was a stellar effort from Cowboy, too. I mean, it's not like I didn't think Cowboy was having an off night. I think it was just a match. Going into that third round. Yeah. I don't think, again, that it was they made it seem like it was a slaughter going on. I just felt like it was starting to become the tide was turning towards Ferguson because he's so unorthodox. And also, too, man, that guy just seems to be a different kind of athlete. Some guys, if I had to learn how to fight, I would rather have it be Donald Cerrone. Yeah. Because he's more technical. He knows how to fight better than Ferguson. Ferguson just is, super athlete, obviously his strength and because he'll throw shots that don't look like they're that hard, but they obviously, look at Cerrone's face, are causing punishment. And not from his ability technically, but just because of his genetic birthright. He's just genetically a fit human being.
Shall we wrap up with a lightning round of Porno Mikey's headlines? Are you guys good with that?
Sure.
All right. Now, guys, Jose, Jarett, you guys are new to the program. Mikey over here, our producer, has filmed many episodes of your favorite pornography. You don't know that because he's the man behind the camera. But
turn off Bella's headphones right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Mikey cut the cord probably about 5 minutes after she sat down, given the nature of a lot of the conversation. So Mikey,
let my daughter leave while we're talking about this.
I'm saying, wait a minute. We
let's
got
let her leave
15-year-old in here. Holy moly.
Who would have expected Jose to be the voice of reason? He's like,
it's come upon me in my old age.
Yeah, there you go.
Like, wait a minute.
All right, so we got a little shuffling around the studio going on here. All right, Mikey, this is your time to shine. Mikey has collected the day's headlines for us, and it's a multimedia affair a lot of times. If you watch on our Phone Booth Fighting YouTube channel, there's pictures and videos that go along with it. So where are we headed first, Mikey?
I want to get this one in because this is one I wanted to. We ran out of time last week.
Yep.
I guess Lamar Odom. I guess he said that he's trying to say that Dennis Hoff tried to kill him back in 2015.
Dare he? How dare he?
And I guess they're trying to he wants to make a movie about his life.
I was there, and to my knowledge, no one, certainly not moi, tried to kill him. In fact, I did the opposite.
Who cares?
I tried to resuscitate
a
him.
Discount on drugs? How do you try to kill the guy?
Well, what? Do we have the clip of him on The View?
Hold on. It was in the article. I think they took it out. Let me look for it real quick.
Because he does. Mikey's right. He's got a book out, and he's doing the media tour. He was on The View, and he claimed that you probably don't even know this, Jose. So I have a hand in running this particular brothel that he was at. And so, that surprise you?
Didn't he spend like 3 days there just
He was with us for 2.
ripping down coke and whores?
Well,
living
now
his
wait a
best
second,
life?
sir. He was with us for 2. He spent $75,000. He would have stayed longer had he not overindulged. But okay, here he is. Here's the clip.
Left the planet.
Yeah, I think Dennis Hoff, I don't know what he had against me, but I didn't do drugs that night, to be honest with you. So I don't know if he tried to poison me or Dennis Hoff, the owner of the brothel. Yeah, I don't know what he had against me or... Nah.
You think he poisoned
He tried to kill me.
Is this guy for real? Yeah, he's really saying down national.
Drugs are a hell of a thing.
He's poisoning
Wow.
me. He kept helping me put this coke up my nose. These naked girls kept showing up.
He almost succeeded, though.
We weren't able to verify it at ABC News, but in your book, you say you don't remember taking drugs or anything.
I didn't. I've been at odds with my daughter about this. She's like, leave it alone.
I wrote a book against Major League Baseball and got death threats. And if I would have said when the Major League Baseball owners tried to kill me, I'd be dead by now.
Your name starts when you straighten up
Yeah.
and say, I see what I did.
All right, you can pause it. Here's what's crazy about this accusation. All right,
Is he broke? He needs to like be in the news to make some money.
I would have. I mean, the charge cleared for the $75,000. I don't know if
Think you got any Kardashian
that was
settlement?
allowed.
I mean, didn't he
of it
get
or
in
not?
trouble back in college because of drugs?
I
I
don't
mean,
know
like,
about that. I mean, the idea.
I think he's had a problem with recreational
Yeah.
drugs his whole life.
First of all, let me just say this. The idea that we would have a $75,000 customer and then try to kill them is the worst business plan ever.
Yeah.
That's definitely not something we want to keep you propped up, right?
Yeah.
That's that. But the other thing is this, that to be able to say something like that and that the people who are conducting the interview don't then say, I'm sorry, what? Yeah. How do you know
they
that?
were, though.
Like,
You can see the girls right there. Their looks were like, don't laugh. Don't fucking laugh in his face.
But what I'm saying is, why don't you then ask, well, what's the proof? Like, how do you know that? Here he is being asked about it outside.
Well, it's about time for him to say that. No one's going to defend it.
Well, no, I'm defending it. I'm telling you.
No, I believe you,
yeah,
but what?
yeah.
Dennis ain't going to come on.
Well, he's,
Right, so he can say whatever he wants.
But the thing is, see, Dennis wasn't even there. Dennis was up in Reno. We were down here in Vegas.
Trying to kill you?
Okay, go ahead. Play that, Mikey.
It's but
Oh, it's
I don't know. Wait, what? Wait, everything is going good. What was it?
The ones that won the championship last year.
Lamar. You got a fan here, Lamar.
So he dated which one of the Kardashians?
Chloe.
Oh my God! It's like seriously, I have a problem with the
The ugly one.
Kardashians.
The one that looks a little bit like Frank.
She looks like O.J. Simpson, to be honest with you.
Wow.
I would like to ask him that
Man, that's a whole
question,
new topic. I really enjoy it. I'm going to be honest with you because
this,
I know that went down.
This is the
Yeah, right?
paparazzi asking him like what the proof is, and he's like, I don't know. I mean, the idea of just these accusations where like somebody tried to kill me. Oh, what's the proof of that? I don't know. Just said it. I don't know.
There's an advantage to not being very bright.
What is it?
Yeah, they call it.
Because you could just sit there and go,
ignorance is bliss, right?
And no one's going to sit there and go, dude, you're dodging the question. They'll sit there and just go, oh, you're a fucking idiot. So it's
Yeah.
okay. You know what I mean? Like, a moron can dodge questions by being moronic and people accept it. But if you're intelligent and they're like, come on, dude, stop it. You know, speak, you know. You have to give some kind of intelligent reply.
So didn't the Kardashians show up there or something as he was in the middle of his binge?
So what happened? No. So what happened was he strokes out. The paramedics get there. I've told the whole story before on the show,
Well,
but
and also too, because you keep saying it, he didn't stroke out on the coke. They said what the problem was is
Got a
he was
bad
taking
smell.
these fucking dick pills.
Yeah.
Like that you get from fucking gas
they
station
were
shit.
called Reload.
Oh yeah.
And so it says like take one within 24 hours. And then he asked one of the girls, because he's on the phone with the fucking, the operator, 911 call taker. And she goes, well, he took these pills. And so she goes, well, how many? And so he looks over the girl. She goes, I don't know, like 10?
What?
Yeah. Then we found out. Now listen, I didn't even know we had these at the place. Like they were in some old cabinet somewhere. And I guess at some point in the middle of the night, he got up and wandered around and found them or something. So he not only took like 10 of them, but then I found out that the FDA had recalled them.
Oh my God.
Like 4 or 5 years prior.
Well, you know
to
what?
that.
The fact that he told that to a person who does have intelligence, probably his attorney,
Yeah.
I could articulate that, well, Hoff tried to kill me. The drugs that I got a hold of were at his property. He set me up. You know what I mean? Like, give me some time to tap dance through this.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's
But
not a stretch. That's right. They
I
found the
get-
poison there. I think the most pressing factor is you said you were there that night. You helped. You were there like during the resuscitation.
Yeah.
He rolled him over, so he
how
didn't
big?
fucking.
How big's that Odom?
Very big. That's where my jiu-jitsu
Dude,
came
you
in.
outlasted him. in
Wait,
the
do you
drug
understand
binge
what question he was
category.
asking, right?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Oh, no.
Very
Jose.
You answered that too quick and
No,
enthusiastically.
no.
You know what he's talking about when he's saying big. Like, was he naked when you got hold of him?
I know
Oh.
the man's big, but I'm saying.
Yeah.
He can see that he's 6'8", but
Right.
like, you know.
Yeah,
Is
he's a
is
proportionate fella.
proportionate?
Yeah, it was a weird how do you do, you know, I mean, to have that be your, pleased to meet you, only one of us is conscious. You're getting the wrong idea, Jose. I was not
I'm
in
so
any...
impressed by you right now.
Well, no, here's the thing. I was not leading him down that path of sin. I was trying to resuscitate him once he went comatose.
After you got him there.
Oh, no. He came on his own.
Keep
Yeah, he came on his own. But I will tell you that is where I really realized that I was
Dude, own it. Be proud of it. You
Resuscitated
outlasted a
it.
7-foot athlete. That's awesome.
that's where I realized I was a legitimate blue belt was when I got a
There you
300-pound guy up on a side mount and held him up until the paramedics got there.
Actually, a little foreshadowing here, or a little backstory. The funny part about him working there is that how many times have you drank alcohol in your life?
0.
He's never smoked a joint, never fucking, like, he is the most straight edge guy I've ever met in my life. So, like, he's around, which is funny because he's in comedy, music, works at a brothel, and he doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, pretty much the Seth pool of human beings and drug addicts and alcoholics and sex mongers. And this guy is in the heart of all of it and doesn't partake in.
So what is your weakness?
As a
Everyone has weakness.
partier, it makes me feel better that there's guys like you around.
Thank you.
I got
Thank
an
you.
adult to keep an eye on
No,
me. I'm gonna
this
go
is
nuts.
if I have to go somewhere, if I'm like, oh, babe, tell Mrs. Mary, hey, I got an appearance, go here, go there. She goes, really? I'm like, but Richard's going with me. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Dude, you got to have weakness. What are you? What are you, a cannibal or something? A vampire? What
No,
is
the fuck
it?
is even a vegan, dude.
Oh, he's a vegan.
Coffee. The worst thing he
I will
takes is
drink
fucking coffee.
I do drink coffee.
Okay, that's okay.
I tell my girlfriend all the time, I need an adult. Babe, I need an adult. Why do you let me out without adult supervision?
Well, this was an unexpected twist with the Odom. I didn't think that story could get any crazier, and then all of a sudden I hear that after not hearing from him for a long time, we keep narrowly missing each other here in Vegas. I was the day after.
Well, obviously, I don't think he wants you to be around because you're going to kind of fucking put some cramp in that story.
Plus, you saw his dick while you were resuscitating him. It's probably a little awkward for you guys to be together now.
Man, I just can't imagine. There's a lot you cannot say never about in life, but I guarantee you I will live the rest of my days and never be in a situation like that guy was in. You know what I'm saying?
No.
100%.
Well, the thing, too, like, and I'll be the first one to admit this, if someone was unconscious like that, I'm not fucking helping them because I don't want to be vomited on. Like, I have a thing about bodily fluids. You know what I mean? Like,
it
that.
happened.
Blood is okay. I'm okay with blood all day long. But any saliva, mucus, snot, vomit, like that shit, like I just start gagging thinking about it. You know what I mean? So like to sit there, he needs mouth to mouth. I'm like, fucking start calling the mortuary because you're fried, brother. I ain't fucking helping your ass.
All right, listen. If it's me, at the very least, I mean, toss a foot on my chest and give me a cup. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to get that.
I might with my foot move you over a little bit.
Throw you over on the other
Chest
side.
compressions with
Get
the.
the fuck away.
That's exactly what happened though. When I got him up on his side, just stuff out everywhere. Yep.
Yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't be a good first responder. I'd be looking over like, I ain't fucking touching that guy. You fucking serious? Look at him. He pissed on himself.
Yeah, this one's questionable at best.
Yeah, he's dead. They're like, he's still thrashing around. I'm like, no, he's fucking dead. He just doesn't know it yet.
No, trust me, he's dead.
It was a weird thing. I mean, because the other thing was he was too big to get on the stretcher. So there were 3 MTs that showed up, and we each grabbed a corner of the fitted bed sheet.
I never thought of it. Was he fully naked at the time?
He had a T-shirt on, like Winnie the Pooh.
He was naked.
That's so good. Well,
Boy, the Winnie the Pooh sold it for me. That's a visual now I can't get out of my head.
Yeah.
He was too big to get on the stretcher, and so what we had to do was those 3 EMTs, and then me on the fourth corner. We
Hey, how
grabbed
tall is he?
Oh God,
6'7"?
7. He's like almost 7 feet tall.
No
Yeah,
shit.
he's very, very tall. And so we each grabbed the fitted bed sheet and pulled it up, and then like made a hammock out of it. So we each carried a corner like this out to the
6'10".
ambulance. Yeah, and when we got him out in the daylight, his skin, like he was so purple. That's where it really sunk, because you know adrenaline's going when you discover him like that and everything. But when we got him out in the daylight, and I'm looking at him, I'm like, either I'm carrying a dead person, a giant dead person, or I'm carrying somebody who's like on the verge of death. Like
Okay,
that's where it
I'm
sunk
confused. You can call a guy purple, but you can't call him black. What is not a politically correct?
Well, that day was definitely purple.
Okay,
I knew he was going there.
Yeah, that day was definitely.
Well, it was a purple guy. No, he's actually
Yeah.
a black guy.
Yeah.
So
Did you cover up the meat hammer before you drug him out, or what happened?
Yeah, I don't think anybody was
was
too.
it dragging on the ground?
Yeah, we were just trying
What's
to.
going on? We want to know.
We got him in the
God damn it,
ambulance.
hang on to this.
Here's
we want
the
to know
crazy-
how much Chloe can handle.
Yeah,
the
here's
Kardashians.
the
That's
funny
all.
thing too is so they get him to the hospital. They take him to Pahrump, which is like the closest place that had a hospital. Then they realize they have to care flight him for specialists to Vegas. They start trying to get him on the helicopter, and he won't fit on the helicopter. So they actually had to drive him in an ambulance because his feet were hanging out of the helicopter. He was too large of a human. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, you couldn't have strapped his chest down and brought his knees up and like, you know what I mean? Like,
They didn't ask for my opinion about that part. I was just standing by going, holy cow, I can't believe. I had Mel in the car, my dog. It was like, I was calling Jennifer on the phone, and I go, imagine having to make this call to your girlfriend. I said, all right, so listen, don't panic. Everything's fine. I'm fine. But just so you're aware, because it's probably going to be on the news in a minute.
hey, can
My
you pull up the
voice is on a
reenactment?
911 call. Yeah, but
You want to see he has a reenactment.
Please.
Yeah.
Okay, pull up. It's Lamar Odom Reels channel, REELZ. Should find it. But yeah, I was like, don't panic. Everything's fine. But you're probably gonna hear my voice on this 911 call. And I got Mel in the car, and we're at the hospital. And Lamar Odom, you know that Lamar Odom guy that's on the Kardashian shit? Like this was this
Hey,
whole
do you
conversation I
think
was
that-
trying to have.
Did Hoff have like an estate?
You mean that was left to people?
Yeah, what's that called? Like, like Michael Jackson still has a name, his
Mm-hmm.
estate. Like,
Yeah, I mean his properties had to be inherited.
could
and stuff
someone
like
still
that.
sue now?
Yes. Yeah, I mean in theory, and he
Well,
never
no, I
did.
mean,
You can't sue a dead
no,
guy,
no,
though.
no.
You could sue his
Can you-
estate, though.
Right.
Yeah.
You can sue on the behalf of his estate also, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, talk about defamation of character that can harm business.
For besmirching
For
his good
besmirching.
name.
Hey, I'm just saying, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you sit there and saying that I'm trying to kill my customers.
Well, I will tell you this.
Could be bad for business,
I
which
will-
the reason why I don't kill my fucking customers is because
Yeah.
it's bad for business.
I
Dick.
will tell you this about Dennis, even posthumously, is that he would be so happy that somehow this story had gotten resurrected. This is you knew Dennis. Now here's what Jose this is what Dennis said to me. So most business owners, hold pause that for a second, Mike. So most business owners, right? If you owned a business and somebody almost died at it, right? Whether it was your fault or not, and it's a national story and all this, and they live, you just be like, oh, thank God, we dodged a bullet there. I'm just glad everything's okay and it didn't kill my business. We had 3 days of round-the-clock national media covering this story, and as the last satellite truck was pulling away after 72 hours, Dennis and I were sitting at this table. Dennis looked at me and he goes, Richard, we just got to figure out a way to keep this story going. He just loved the press. You know, he didn't want it to go away. So he would be happy it's being talked about.
Not a bad
again.
idea.
All right, so boys, I assume you think you're going to probably live your whole life and never have somebody play you in a crime scene reenactment. I thought the same thing until this happened. Go ahead and roll it there, Mikey. You will see the actual hookers in here make a cameo as well.
It's the 911 call that saved Lamar Odom's life. Hollywood 911 has the scoop.
I stayed with him, and Monica ran to the front for help.
Odom was at the infamous Vegas brothel, Love Ranch.
When Lamar got here, we all did the lineup, and he picked me and Ryder. And that's when we did our negotiation.
Lamar paid a whopping $75,000 for a week-long stay.
We never did anything sexual, anything.
Half the time,
Liar.
he wanted time to himself. And we kind of thought that's pretty weird.
And then these are the girls that play
Sometimes
the
too much
girls.
coke, man. You know.
To not have me in the room.
Later on, the women found Odom unconscious and called 911.
From the time he went to bed in the early morning hours until he was discovered.
Now that's the guy that
he
plays
was
me.
alive.
Look at the guy they cast as me.
Wake up.
I really feared that he might die in my hands.
All I could do was just pray for him. Please, dear God, let this man be okay.
We still got. I always want to
That's
get the
awesome.
guy who got cast as me on the podcast. I want to talk to the person who played me to find out what the process was
Yeah,
like.
find
You
out
never
how he-
did anything sexually. Really?
Find out.
Jesus Christ.
Frank may be right though. I mean, sometimes you do so much drugs or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah,
anyway,
I mean, that's why.
All right, so nothing sexual. What was he dropping the 75 grand on?
well, no, he paid those two girls. He paid for them to be with him 24 hours a day for the 2 days he was there. I mean, that's what
that
the
was
money
their
was
job,
for.
just to sit there and watch him.
Basically, yeah. I mean, and
And
obviously,
those would- and
I'd
those would
sleep
too?
with him if he wanted
No,
to. Yeah.
I ain't swallowing that pill.
Well, Lamar Odom is, and that would have served you well if you'd have been out there
Yeah.
at the Love Ranch.
Advice
Jose,
he
we-
told Chloe,
advice
no,
he should've
Chloe, I'm
taken.
going to go there
keep
and
the
don't touch the
reload
girls.
away from you.
Yeah.
Well, Lamar Odom has an open invitation to come on the show. One of these days, we got to get him on and sort this whole thing out. All right, anything else? You know what? Do the David Ortiz story since Jose's
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Can you believe
Yeah.
this? Did you hear
No,
about this, Frank?
I
Somebody
did.
tried to shoot David Ortiz.
Oh, I thought they shot him.
Well, they did.
They
They
did
did.
shoot
I
him.
should have said they tried to kill
They
him.
got the shit beat out of him.
Yeah. David Ortiz, former Boston Red Sox, was down there in the Dominican Republic, where he's from, at a club, and somebody came up from behind him and shot him. The bullet went into his stomach and did some damage to some internal organs. He's going to survive and recover, it looks like. He was flown to Boston for medical treatment. So, I mean, this doesn't seem, Jose, like just completely random.
First of all, they say somebody paid them to shoot him.
Here's
but
the video.
for what a
Right.
reason?
Yeah,
There's
right.
a reason why they paid somebody to shoot Ortiz.
Here's the video. A guy comes up behind him, or there's Ortiz right there, doubling over. Crowd freaks out.
Do we know what caliber bullet it was? Because that's pretty interesting.
Oh, I don't know.
Because
I
a
heard that.
45 would have killed him instantly, would have destroyed his insides no matter what.
Mm.
So maybe it was a 21 caliber, was a small caliber bullet. But here's the thing. Okay, the guy's saying, yeah, I was paid, but what was the reason?
Sounds
Did
like
the guy
money.
give a reason? What, did you have sex with his wife? Did he piss somebody off? The reason I don't think is being given, right?
It sounds
that
to
I've
me
heard,
like
no.
something. Poppy might have been dipping his nugget in someone else's sauce.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that to me makes a lot of sense.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Boy, I don't know.
Because it wasn't for robbery. I know he carries a lot of jewelry. He's got the Rolex masterpiece on his hand, like an 8-carat diamond ring, very expensive chains. That wasn't taken off. So basically, who did he piss off?
My money is he banged the wrong guy's girl.
I agree. He banged some drug dealer's girl down in wherever he was. Where was it?
Dominican.
Republic. And the guy said, I don't care if you're Big Papi. Watch what I'm going to do to you. That's
Yeah.
exactly what happened.
Yeah, well, those guys got.
Lesson be learned.
Listen,
There's some
you don't
phone
do
booth
that. Yeah.
fighting speculation for you. See,
Yeah.
and that's just the wrong way to handle that situation. To me, if you find out that that's what your significant other has been doing, you should just look at the situation and say, you know what? You don't get to be in a relationship with me anymore. Apparently, I judged you incorrectly.
I agree with that 100%, but most men, don't do it that way.
I want him to be shot in the dick.
I don't know. Listen, before
I'm letting you know now. If I randomly have a guy get shot in the dick, it's probably because he did something inappropriate.
That's
with
a
my
dead
wife.
giveaway. That'll be you get shot in the
guy got
dick.
shot in the
that's a
dick.
dead
You're like,
giveaway.
where was Mrs. Meir? No, you know what I mean? Like,
By the way,
Before-
another I was going to say another shout out for your Truth Hurts podcast. I did really enjoy Jared, your conversation with Jose about getting Jose to rank his divorces in terms of difficulty. That was an interesting conversation because it wasn't cut and dry. Like Jose had a lot of points to evaluate, and he really thought it through. It was like handicapping a fight. He was like, "Well, on the one hand, but then I do have to consider on the other hand."
Well, I'm also on divorce number 2 that I'm right in the midst of right now. So it's just kind of my way to get some quick information out of him.
Oh, so you guys are like 2 and 2.
The only difference is, we're 2 and 2. For
Except
sure.
mine cost me a lot more.
Yeah.
My first one than yours, okay?
Well, just because
By
you
a
had
lot.
Yeah, well, you had a lot more.
Yeah, but you're still good friends with the mother of your daughter, aren't you?
Actually,
before our show.
That ship sailed.
It makes sense because when I started talking about A-Rod, Jessica and I used to be really good friends, and we used to talk all the time and hang out all the time. And we never had sex or anything like that. We were just friends. And then when the A-Rod incident came up, and I mentioned him, and I kind of threw her out there under the bus, we haven't spoken since.
This all came up like, 3 months ago, something like that? It was something like...
Let's have some drinks tonight and call her.
Yeah, it's about 4 months ago, right? Yeah. So we haven't spoken since.
Okay. Because I'm sorry, this is not coming to me completely clearly. The situation was A-Rod is engaged to...
Jennifer Lopez.
J-Lo.
And he's trying to hook up with the
Not trying.
Well, he's been hooking up with her.
Oh,
the honest part about it is...
I thought he was chasing her.
With who? Your ex? Is that what happened?
Jessica.
Okay.
It's a whole long story behind, but the last thing that happened was I was with Jessica and my daughter Josie because we celebrated Josie's party for something. And A-Rod's calling Jessica on her phone. I'm there with Jessica, and Jessica showed me, look, A-Rod is still calling.
Okay.
So I speak with Jessica, and Jessica's still seeing A-Rod. They're still messing around. So then Jessica and I talk about, because Jessica wants to take down A-Rod because A-Rod is such a scuzzy, right? So then that conversation ended. So now I wake up one day, I see A-Rod tweeting how much he loves Jennifer, this and that. And I went on Twitter saying, you lousy son of a bitch, stop cheating on Jennifer. So I bring out the fact that A-Rod is with Jennifer, but still texting Jessica for them to get together. And
You can get this whole story on The Truth Hurts with Jose Canseco, available on iTunes, Stitcher. We actually have it up on YouTube now. We're on Twitter at Hurts with Jose. You can check out the whole story.
I've been saying it this whole podcast. Check out this podcast these guys are doing because that's one of the stories you'll hear.
That's cool. Yeah, it's a lot of true stuff that's happened in my life, been continuously happened to today.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had him rate out the divorces, and so now I'm heading into my second. We're 2 for 2, and now he's got me moving out to Las Vegas as a guy.
You're getting a divorce now?
Yeah. I'm in the middle of a divorce right now. I'm in midst of divorce. The mother of the kids. Yep.
Does A-Rod factor into your divorce?
Maybe he was with your wife. You better check that out.
Yeah.
No, it turns out that my wife's an awful person. So I hung in there for a little while. And,
he was going to say something else, but he toned it down.
You really my wife's trouble with the girlfriend right now.
So no, yeah.
When
Austin blows me up with the girlfriend.
Yeah, no.
He gets on the phone with the girlfriend.
Wait, I explained this before we got on the air. Austin Aries was up here.
Right, Austin Aries was here. We're all sitting there talking in the front room. And during that time, his girlfriend had called him. And he showed the phone, hey, look, I'm here with Austin. And Austin goes, hey, hi. Something to the fact of like, hi, it's the wife. And he goes, no, it's not my wife. He goes, oh, okay, sorry, the girlfriend. Well, he says he's going to call the wife later anyways.
Oh, Austin. Listen, the wife only wants to hear from me if it's money related. But yeah, Austin definitely got me in some trouble. I'm sorry, Anna. I love you.
Yeah, okay.
Fuck her, Austin.
All right, seeing as though you're going through your second divorce, has anything that Jose's been through, has he been able to like give you any words of advice or...
Of course, because I'm like, all right, let me put myself in 6'4", 260 pound Cuban god Jose Canseco shoes. No, we have nothing similar in our divorces.
Except you know what? You do have something similar. The size of your hearts.
Yeah. No, because what happens is Jose gets rid of divorces. He writes off big $1 million checks, and then smoking hot chicks throw themselves at him.
Yeah, but you're about to be in that podcast money, though. I mean, that's something. Your life's about to change. You're not thinking
all
about
50
that.
cents of it.
All 50 cents.
Yeah, now's the time.
No, I don't know. Jose just kind of lets me hang out at his house and do like some laundry and stuff. That's the deal for our podcast partnership. So that's how it goes. I was cleaning the pool this morning. That's how I got to be here today.
What about you, Jose? Are you trying to be a good friend? You see him over there going through the pain. You're like, you know what? I've been there. Like, let me just try to ease the blow as best I can.
Both the guys are going through, girl issues, and I just tell them, hey, listen, got to live life, have fun. If it doesn't work, it just doesn't work. Just move on, and there's always but then again, he's already moved on. He's way ahead of my advice. He's already got a girlfriend. He wants to move in with her. I'm like, Jesus.
Real quick,
the cycle.
Jarett, how long between the wife and the girlfriend?
20 seconds.
Stop it. 20 seconds. No.
Is there an in-between time? No.
Cut.
All right, never mind.
So, the real
This is a conversation for off air.
The real story is that I was in the midst of getting a divorce, and she was actually a fan of a previous podcast that I worked on.
Ooh,
and
podcast
I talked
groupie.
to her for podcast groupie, right? So I talked
Look at
to
you
her
enhancing
for a
their
little
fan
bit.
Yeah.
experience.
What can I do?
Yeah.
Right?
We don't offer that.
You know what?
No.
You know what? Enjoy the podcast. I'll give you the whole 3 inches of what we got going on here. And
did you just create a podcast groupie? I've never heard of that.
So trust me, and she's not.
Check
a podcast.
out their Patreon.
She's not a podcast groupie. God damn it, you guys are crushing me. I'm just be fucking. I'm buying flowers and doing all sorts of. So the marriage was over, and I'm like, hey, why don't we check out this chick with the big tits that keeps messaging me on Twitter? And here we are.
Is this the same chick that says
Cinderella
she wants a
Light.
Jose Canseco jersey and she moved to Vegas?
Well, it's again. There's a lot that goes into this. Well, they don't have time for this types of situations.
No.
But I may have to negotiate some stuff. She might be in a situation too, and it's. So how do I get you out of this situation?
With A-Rod.
No.
No,
Her situation.
no.
So she tells me.
I think
Listen,
it's way
so she
worse.
tells me
Oh,
her boyfriend is. He's 340 pounds, 6'3",
David
340 pounds. He's a former Olympic power lifter.
Oh,
and I
fuck, buddy.
go,
You like living life dangerously.
why not? Listen, of course, I could have done this the easy way, but what the fuck?
Did
right?
my David Wells
So-
fat joke just bomb?
I will not
Counting
help you if he kicks your ass. Believe me.
Damn it.
So listen, I already told you, the guy can't even wipe his own ass, let alone throw a punch. So 340 pounds, and she goes, and it's because he's on, steroids was his thing, and he started juicing when he was young, and he started juicing young because he's a Jose Canseco fan. And I'm like, well, how do we negotiate this deal? She's like, a couple signed jerseys probably get me out of here. I'm like, yeah.
Like a dowry.
Deal, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
Instead, I don't know. It's just
Now, is this a long distance relationship, or did it just so happen she lived in your
It's long
general
distance
area?
right now, although we've seen each other and hung out a few times and met up. And
But you're
You
going to
get her on the phone right now and say hi to her.
But you're going to be moving.
Tell her say hi to the world.
You're going to be moving.
Hopefully
from,
he doesn't listen to podcasts, right?
Oh, the power lifter.
Picture, right?
I mean,
he's on his way home right now listening to
I don't think the fucking guy. No, I don't think he knows how to work a podcast.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
If that's what you.
It sounds like you guys have some complicated situations on your podcast. I mean, this is
Well,
making us
We
sound
just like
boring.
to have a lot of
Frank.
fun. That's all.
Yeah.
Listen,
It's right in your face. We talk about.
It's the truth.
well,
That's
yeah,
why it
it
hurts.
the truth hurts.
We don't sugarcoat anything. It's right in front of your face.
I can't sit here and sugarcoat it, right? The truth hurts, and that's what it is.
You know what,
So-
Jose? I always said this, going back to you and Juiced in the book and everything. I always said that's what Major League Baseball was not prepared for. Is you were the first guy from the fraternity who benefited more from being truthful than you did from just playing the game, because you'd been blackballed. Most guys would be like, oh, you know what? I just stay quiet, and then I go to Cooperstown and I sign. I do all the appearances and stuff like that. I think you were the first guy on that level. I mean, there'd been guys like Jim Bouton that wrote Ball 4 and stuff like that on a lower level, but I think you were the first guy who was like superstar level, where it's like, no, it's actually more beneficial to me to just be truthful, because I've already been blackballed.
Yeah, it kind of evolved in the sense of I was 36 years old, and I couldn't find a job in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
And ironically, my agent at the time called all the Major League teams, and they all said we couldn't touch him. They said, we can't touch Jose Canseco. Why? Oh, we just can't touch him. So we said that I would play for free. That I would play for the Major League minimum. We'd grab that money and donate it to a local charity to get kids out to the ballpark. They said, we still can't touch them. So obviously they were saying indirectly. Other players were saying, you're being blackballed, whatever. I said, I didn't want to admit it to myself. But finally came out the facts that, yeah, I was being blackballed at 36. I mean, you see me hit a softball. Back then, I still have electric hands, can still hit 40, 50 home runs a year, and could not find a job with any team, even for free. That really pissed me off. And I think that got me started in the fact that, I think the world needs to know that I'm just not going to disappear and go into the darkness and not say anything. I think people needed to know my story, what really happened to me, and they got it in spades.
Mm-hmm.
That's
do
simple.
you think in retrospect, because I once asked this question to Pete Rose, I said, I'm sure, Pete, you would prefer that, none of the bad stuff happened and you're just all-time hit king, you go in the Hall of Fame, all that kind of stuff. I said, but given the fact that everything's happened the way that it has, do you think it's actually contributed more to your legend and more to your kind of outlaw fan base that you're in the position that you're in than if everything had just happened traditionally? And he said yes, without a doubt. I think that could be the case for you too.
I think so.
You could be just another guy in the 500 home run club if you'd kept playing. You could, which is cool, but there's not really another Jose Canseco. You know what I mean?
I know, but guys, you have to remember this. In my era when I played, 80s and 90s, baseball was very different. The atmosphere was very different. The politics were very different. Back then, it was Mark McGwire and myself, and we were the Bash Brothers. But in the media's eyes, Mark McGwire was the All-American hero. Mm-hmm. I was the Latin, They created almost a structure between us two that we're combating against each other. He was the good guy. I was the evil guy. A persona,
kind of like Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris.
But a persona was created for me early in my career. Mm-hmm. I was the brash, arrogant Latin guy, and it's true. I did have issues, ex-wives and so forth. But Mark was the wholesome apple pie type guy.
He was the Roger.
Yeah,
to your
so
Mickey.
They created that right away, and it was just. It was an image I couldn't really combat. I was the bad boy of sports. But I did do kind of like the Madonna issue, the racing of the cars, and the divorces, and this and that. While you
also were photographed taking batting practice shirtless for some reason. You don't see that a lot of times when you go to the ballpark. Well, it's just you don't often see it when you go to the ballpark.
That kind of cost my first marriage. I can remember that.
Yeah?
I was doing, it's a little story I talk about. I was doing a shoot with Annie Leibovitz for American Express.
Yeah.
And basically I was supposed to wear a tank top with tight jeans, swinging a bat with the mountains in the background. So Annie Leibovitz, in front of my wife at the time, Esther, who's very insecure, says, Jose, it would look great because you have, at the time, I think I had a 32, 33-inch waist. I don't anymore, obviously, but she says, why don't you take off your shirt? I think, women want to see how small your waist is and you swinging a bat. And I looked at my wife, Esther, and I said to her, so what do you think, Esther? Esther lost her fucking mind. There's no way you're going to take off your shirt. No way, I will divorce you. She started arguing with Annie Leibovitz. And I said, well, kiss my goddamn ass. So I took my shirt off, did the shot, and all hell broke loose, and that's when the real negative issue started with my first wife.
And you know what? I think because of that, over the years, a lot of people have remembered the chisel physique. I don't think what gets enough credit is that stellar mullet. That was impressive that you had back then.
We talked some mullets.
Oh, my God. I look back, and I'm like, what the fuck was I doing wearing that mullet? At times, it was so long, it looked so bad that I'm wondering. But you know what? It was in. It was the 80s. Yeah. Eckersley had a mullet. McGwire actually started his mullet, but he had very curly hair.
His frizzed out.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of players started, hey, we like the mullet. Let's wear the mullet. It was just the hairstyle for that, I guess, about 10 years. But in retrospect, when I look at it now, that was not a good haircut.
Yeah, well, see, you're in less denial than me. See, I've been locked into this look since the mid-'80s.
The rocker look, yeah.
Yeah.
That's way better than the mullet, believe me.
As a rule, guys stick with the exact haircut they had the first time they got laid. So whatever your hair looked like the first time you got, because why would you ever fucking switch it up from that point? So if you look back at it, I mean, realistically, this is what everyone's hair looked like the first time they got laid. I mean, maybe we've given it a little swirl at the front or a little, but for the most part, once you got,
you find out what works.
Interesting theory.
Stick with it.
Yeah, I mean, my position.
Because you imagine if you got your hair cut and never got laid again.
That'd be a really bad haircut.
Right, you get that style change. Fuck, I should have went with it.
My position on it is you lock into a look early and you stick with it because it makes it impossible to date you age-wise. It may not even be like, this isn't a good look, but it's a consistent
So this could be
one.
like 97 you
That's
or 2000.
it. You look. Here's the thing. You look at a picture of Ron Wood from the Rolling Stones, and you're like, was that taken in 1972 or 2 weeks ago? I'm not sure because he looked the same. So it also makes it harder to implicate you in a crime. That's another thing I always consider too. That's why I don't have the vanity plate.
Okay, we got off track here somewhere.
All right. So let's do this. We'll remind everybody one more time to check out the Truth Hurts podcast with Jose and Jarett. And when do you guys post up a new episode?
Well, we're recording. We've started doing some recording yesterday. We're going to do some more recording tonight. We're going to get the video episode up hopefully in the next week. We're going to have an audio episode up as well. We're going to record tonight while we're here.
Okay.
So usually Wednesdays is when we drop. So I would expect something new from us for next Wednesday. However, make sure you're keeping up on our Twitter page at Hurts with Jose, where we'll be doing a lot of updates and sharing some clips of some of the stuff that we've been doing while we're here.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you guys hung out with us today.
I really appreciate being here.
We'll do some more stuff down the line. We're going to get that live show together up and happening. Frank, you know this is your portion of the show where we wrap it up, and you have to tell everybody how to follow us on social media, and also the dire importance of that Amazon banner on the front of phoneboothfighting.com. Take it away.
Go on phoneboothfighting.com, click on our Amazon banner. Any of your shopping that you do on the Amazon at that moment or at that time, a small percentage comes back here at no extra cost to you to the show. And you can follow us at Phone Booth Fighting on Facebook and Instagram, and just Phone Booth Fight on Snapchat or Twitter.
That's it. Subscribe to our Phone Booth Fighting YouTube channel. Look us up on iTunes, Phone Booth Fighting, and click on those 5 stars. It really helps us out. Give us those 5-star reviews. For the guys from The Truth Hurts, Jose Canseco and Jarett Orr, and Frank, of course, and Porno Mikey in his pilot seat, producing, doing a great job. I'm Richard Hunter, and we'll see you right back here next time.